Thursday, 7th of May 2020. Good evening from Europe. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever you are guys. Piotr here, the Slide Forex Global YouTube channel, and we are going to make post-US cash market update. I'm sorry, few hours or less than 24 hours ahead of the non-farm payrolls, which probably are going to be the ugliest in the US history. Of course, we are going to discuss the indices. It looks like the indices, when it comes to the reality, looks like the social distancing is working very well. That's the very good joke. Unfortunately, it's not mine. I've seen that on the Twitter, so kudos to someone who shared that joke. So overall, higher we go, but I would like to, before we will make the full analysis preparation ahead of the non-farm payrolls tomorrow, I would like to point out one thing, right? Because some of you probably noticed, right? But let's get back to Tuesday, right? Pre-market bump, big cash market dump. Wednesday, pre-market pump, big cash market dump. Pre-market up, attempt to dump, but you know, we haven't seen the dump today. I think that some big guys are waiting for tomorrow. So, well, is it telling me this type of the action telling me something? Well, the thing is that it's easier, much cheaper to manipulate US futures during the pre-market phase, right? So during the Asian hours or during the European hours, it's a cheaper, right? Meaning that the big guys were able to sell during the cash market at much higher levels. Well, taking into the consideration the reality, well, that's quite smart strategy. Anyway, let's start our preparation ahead of the non-farm payrolls tomorrow. Let's start our preparation with Nasdaq. And what we have here? Well, that's the weekly chart. The thing is, previous week we tested and we saw big rejection. We tested previous demand after the breakdown, it's supply, right? So we've seen huge rejection. Now, with this pre-market pump, cash market dump, we are still this week managed to get very close to previous week high, right? Very close. So tomorrow it's gonna be very, very interesting day. Can we go higher? Yes, of course. Why not? Can we make new higher high on the Nasdaq? Of course we can. Come on. It's an election year. Everything can happen. Anyway, let's get back to reality. Let's place few important lines, zones when it comes to the weekly chart based on what we have. I'm talking about the upside. So, based on my chart, 9,322 based on my chart. 9,385. So that's the zone, and eventually finaling the business somewhere close to 9,640, 9,650, all right? Could that happen? Well, basically it could, right? If we are not going to make at least a little bit lower high this week compared to previous week, and then again next week another lower high, right? Easily we can hit these levels we are discussing from the Nasdaq perspective. So in that case, Where's support? Right? Where's support? Well, I think the first demand is somewhere here, been tested 2 weeks ago. There you go. All right. Based on this latest weakness. Okay. As well as the minimum we've seen from what happened 3 weeks ago, right over here. So in that case, I would say that we are talking about the levels below 8,500 down towards 8,200. Okay, that's how I see the things on the Nasdaq. So upside, there is still a little bit of the room, unless we are creating, as I mentioned a second ago, we are creating a tiny lower high, next week tiny lower high, and Niagara Fall, right? So let's have a look what we have from the smaller time frame perspective. Let's switch to the daily chart. And as you can see here, the daily chart, well, this works fine. So the blue from the weekly, that zone from the weekly works. So the supply from the daily, nice confluence here, right? So probably what might happen, we might see a higher high, and if we might see this type of the action like the stop count hitting the zone and then Niagara Fall, right? So it could be in a way that one can argue, well, it's rising channel, right? But if we are going to use imagination, it could be bear flag. Okay, so that's how I see the Nasdaq. And of course tomorrow is gonna be key. And well, I don't care if we are going to pump again overnight. What I do care, I would like to see what kind of the cash market reaction we are going to get tomorrow. All right, don't forget guys that we might see if the number is gonna be horrible, and some guys already know what's going to happen, what number we are going to get, right? So don't forget about one thing. Don't try to chase the market straight away, because if you remember when we get a few weeks ago horrible weekly jobless claims, immediately at the same time we had the Fed intervention. All right, so be careful out there guys tomorrow. I'm going to make the update when it comes to the currency, so I'm going to remind you about that. So that's how I see the Nasdaq, a little bit higher than theoretically there is a chance we are going to see lower levels. And especially I like some, I like because we have the activity from the Fed members ahead of the meeting, and when there is a, when they cannot comment anything. There was a Fed member, Barkin, if I'm not mistaken, Barkin said that, well, US economy hit the bottom. And that when I when I saw that and compare with what is going on when it comes to the coronavirus in US, I don't know how they are choosing those some of the Fed members, right? Anyway, Kashkari said completely different thing. But that's for completely another meeting. So that's how I see the Nasdaq. The other one for today and for tomorrow is S&P 500. Here, the old economy is a little bit weaker, right? So if we would like to compare the zones we discussed on the Nasdaq, they are here. We are here when it comes to the old economy, right? So we are around 50% of that huge drop. Why we have the reaction? Because here we have last week we had similar reaction to what we've seen on the Nasdaq, but in that case it was this base, right? So it's like drop, base, drop, retest, sell, right? We should see lower levels. So here we are, well, if we are not gonna discuss this pump, we can say that we are closer to the reality when it comes to the S&P based on the weekly chart. Also looks like there might be the case of the swing high creation based on this previous week high. All right, so that's giving some kind of the, that might be some kind of the, I don't want to bias anyone, that's the first thing first, but that could be, you know, where you can see where we are on S&P, where we are on the Nasdaq. So maybe sometimes instead of trying to chase Nasdaq, maybe the old economy could be the solution. Trying to short the old economy could be the solution here. Now, when it comes to daily chart, what we've seen last week, it was this supply worked out perfectly fine. We saw the rejection. Now the only thing the bears can complain is the size of that rejection, right? But what I like here is Tuesday cash sell-off, Wednesday cash sell-off, a little bit of the Thursday cash sell-off, right? So these upper shadows, I like these upper shadows. All right, so what I'm gonna do when it comes to the S&P, for example, tomorrow, only and only then during the cash market. That was nice cash sell-off right today. I'm going to monitor very closely because we are going to retest right now. That's if that would be the cash market still going on, that would be my first supply. If you watch last two educational videos, you know what I'm talking about, right? That's the very good real-time example. But because it's a post-market, well, we can easily hit new high because post-market price action this week is clear, right? Let's pump that stock. Anyway, what I would like to see tomorrow, I'm afraid it might be that already happened. But anyway, if we are going to try to hit some more stops, if we are going to try to, you know, create a little bit higher connection when we are trying to connect the highs, intraday highs, right? I would like to see some kind of the, you know, without any kind of the imagination, with the 22 million in NFP, some push higher and strong rejection then during the cash market. That would be my setup. Of course, I don't know where we are going to be overnight. I don't know where we are going to be pre-non-farm payrolls, right? But for you to have to think about something ahead of the payrolls, that's why I prepared that update. I'm bearish, but it's my only opinion. Again, I just shared my view. Can we go higher? Of course we can go higher. The market might be longer irrational than we can hold our position against that move, right? So be careful. Again, tough times we are living in. So I think step back, rethink, lower exposure. That's the way to go. It was my pleasure to prepare this stock market update post or indices update post US cash close. Be careful, guys. Horrible non-farm payrolls is just around the corner. Have a good one, guys. Take care. Goodbye. See you tomorrow.